As a professional wedding photographer, I edit photos like crazy. We're talking tens of thousands of photos every year. Every wedding I shoot is around 1,000 photos to edit. So I'm always looking for tools to streamline the process. And this right here is a TourBox Elite Plus, and it actually might be the most complete editing console I've had. But here is the thing, these devices are only as good as how you set them up and integrate them into your actual workflow, and there are literally hundreds of ways you can configure this thing. So in today's video, I am going to show you exactly how I set it up for wedding editing and how I use its features to fit my workflow. If you're new around here, hello, my name is Magic and I'm a destination wedding photographer. I've been shooting weddings since 2012, and a few years ago I started this YouTube channel to talk about cameras, lenses, gear, and wedding photography. So please subscribe and let me grow if this is something you're interested in. Disclaimer, TourBox reached out asking if I'd be interested in testing and showcasing TourBox Elite Plus here on my channel, and because I've been eyeing these consoles for a while and I wanted to see if it would be useful in my real-world wedding workflow, I said yes, and I'm glad I did because it's really amazing. So huge thanks to TourBox for sponsoring this video and sending this device over. So TourBox Elite Plus, what is this? This is a console type device with a bunch of buttons and dials that you can simply map via the included software to a bunch of different settings and a bunch of different editing and creative applications you might use. That's my explanation. But for our wedding photography use, we're simply talking Lightroom. This is Lightroom classic device for us. And I'm going to be honest with you, it's a Lightroom beast. The one that I have, the model that I have, is the top model of the TourBox line, Elite Plus. So Elite series, the top line has Bluetooth, so no cables. It has haptic feedback that is extremely satisfying in this device. And then Elite Plus version also connects to iPad, which opens up the whole new world of possibilities to all of you iPad people. After unboxing it, the one thing I immediately noticed is how heavy and solid it feels. Surprisingly heavy in a really good way, like a good heavy Leica lens. And especially compared to the console I've used before, prior to getting TourBox, which is MX Creative Console, that is extremely light and feels very cheap in comparison, while being basically in the same price bracket. But the whole point of a device like this is the software integration. So let me just quickly walk you through the features and the way it can be used, and then I'll show you my exact setup after a couple thousand photos edited with various settings until I made a workflow that fully works for me and my needs. So the software for TourBox is actually really cool and packed with customization options. You can basically map anything you want, from tools and features in Lightroom to keyboard shortcuts to custom macros. So depending on how advanced you are with automations and setting up your workflow, you can go really all in with TourBox. But then don't worry if you don't, because it does come with predefined settings for each software. And for Lightroom Classic, it's actually pretty intuitive to work with straight out of the box. And that is thanks to the flagship TourBox feature called Dynamic Panel. So check this out. All the Lightroom controls now live on these floating panels that are 100% customizable. And this is an absolute game changer because you can literally create a panel with all the features that you actually use. You can place it anywhere on the screen and then have them working with your buttons and dials on the device with zero latency. This feature alone, in my opinion, takes this device to the next level. It also allows you to edit in full screen mode because you don't need the actual Lightroom panels anymore, which is awesome. And these panels are also tool aware, so meaning they change depending on the tool you activate. If you switch to masking, you suddenly have mask relevant adjustments, and then the precision of the dials is spot on. You can be really nuanced with your sliders, and TourBox definitely lets you edit to specific numbers on your sliders. And then one of the coolest implementations, like the software implementation, is how they actually approached color mixer. So you can control hue, saturation, and luminance for each color in this one slick panel using just two dials. So using the main knob, you move from color to color, then you use the scroll to go up and down and pick the slider you want to adjust, and then again use the same main knob to adjust that slider. It's really quick and intuitive. But Again, as I said, the device is only as good as your workflow with it and how you can actually speed up your workflows. Okay, so let me just demonstrate how it works for me. So look at this. First of all, like I position my TourBox right here in front of my keyboard because I like to have it centered right here. It allows me, first of all, if I'm in library module or if I'm calling, it allows me to use both of my hands on the TourBox and just scroll through the images and use these 4 arrows for starring. This is kind of default setting of TourBox. Personally, I did make a little change, so let me show you, because I like, this is my actual library module, because I like using picks. I don't use stars, I use picks, so I use flagged and unflagged images. So I use the scroll and then I press these 2 buttons to flag or remove flag, and basically that's it. So I can just quickly cull through my images with 2 hands. I can just like chill like this on my desk. you can't really see me because I'm out of the view, but yeah, I can chill, use 2 hands on the device and cull. For editing then, so if I move to develop module, I'm gonna first show you the default setting, like straight out of the box from the TourBox. So if I use that, let me close that for a second. Look at this. So I have my main floating panel right here, and then my right hand is going to be on the mouse, my left hand is going to be on the TourBox. And there's 2 ways you can actually work, because one, like first of all, you activate your dynamic panels by pressing these 4 buttons, and you have like the naming right here so you can clearly know what you're doing. So this is default settings straight out of the box. You can just turn it on and you can start editing. You need to change the presence, you can change the texture, clarity, contrast, anything. And the way it works is you activate your panels by pressing these buttons, and then you can scroll down through the different sliders on that specific panel, and then you can use that dial to adjust. The other way you can actually use it is you can also hover your mouse over the specific slider and then use your dial to change the slider value, which for me is preferred way of working, because I have like control on my mouse, so I can even quicker get to like the specific slider and change it. So I can do white balance, and then I can do texture, like whatever you want. You can quickly edit by hovering your mouse over it and then using the dial. But these default settings, while good, like I barely touch color mixer in my wedding editing. Like when I edit my photos, I usually get them processed through Imagine, so I get my Magicadabra profile already applied. So I make slight changes. So most of the stuff that I use is going to be white balance, exposure, crop, and filters, gradient filters. So for me, I wanted to set up my most used settings under those main 4 buttons right here. So let me present you my setup. Like this is my setup, boom, main. So up here, I have my main sliders. So these are the main sliders that I use: exposure, temperature, tint. These 3 probably the most, and then contrast, highlight. The rest is slightly less used for me. Then on the bottom one, so right here, I have crop. And since I already have my hand on the mouse, I can quickly crop. Boom, that's perfect. And then on the left, I have reset crop, because I often reset crops because I copy settings from other images, or, I use crop with Imagine. So then often I see the crop and be like, no, let me reset that and start from scratch. So that's, I use it quite often. And then I do use a lot of masking, and the masking feature I actually kept on the default settings from TourBox, which is pressing the shift. This is this button, and then you can see like those settings change. Now I have up here, I have spot removal. On the left, I have radial filter. On the right, I have gradient filter. So let's say I want to do the radial filter. So I'm going to press the left one, and with my mouse, I can create the filter. You see? Now on this button, I actually mapped the invert. So I click this and it inverts my mask. Now I can go back to my panel, which became mask relevant panel. So you see, this is all about mask now. You see, we have feather, so I can change the feather, and then I can make the background slightly darker. Okay, and then I go back to my main settings because I want to make entire image slightly brighter, maybe slightly less warm. and slightly more contrast, and that's it. And then I mapped these two buttons for next and previous image. So then I go to the next image and be like, okay, let me see that one. I'm going to use the crop on that one. So I'm cropping, maybe too much crop. Let me reset that. I'm going to crop it so there's too much space on the left here. So that's boom. Now let me maybe work on that exposure slightly bit. As you can see, like my edits are pretty much done after applying my preset or applying my Imagine edit. So that's why I mostly do small adjustments, and it's more about, for example, masking. So I'm going to get to the next image. It's more about masking for me, being like, okay, I want to put like the gradient filter up on their faces. I'm going to revert that mask again. I'm going to make everything around them slightly darker. The beauty of using the dynamic panels is that actually you can hide those panels because you don't need them anymore. All you need is like what you have here, or you can set up anything you need here and access it really quickly by hovering your mouse over it and, you know, changing the settings. So let's say now let's go to another one like this one, you know, again, exposure, contrast, you know, crop, whatever you want. You want to remove something, that's fine. We also have the here spot removal up here. So I don't know, I'm going to remove that dot just for fun, I guess. So yeah, everything that I personally need, I have right here, boom, removing area. And I think like this is the power of this device, like the whole level of customization. And then, you know, like I have a mic here, but for some of you, it might be better to have workflow like this. So you have your keyboard here, you're, you know, typing, you're working, and then you use your two hands like this. Yeah, so wait, let me put the mic back in this spot for better sound. So yeah, this is just a now time lapse of me editing the entire shoot. And I gotta tell you, like this workflow with one hand on the mouse and the second hand on the TourBox is perfect for me. The way I can add those masks and work on these sliders by simply hovering over them, I love it. I do plan on refining my workflow because I probably need to edit a couple thousand more images to find even better shortcuts in my editing flow with TourBox, because every time I edit, I find some new nuances on how to speed up my workflow. Be like, oh, I could actually map this to a button. Oh, I can actually map this. So stay tuned for updates. I'll be happy to share them with you. And that customization part, for me, this is the biggest benefit of TourBox, because no matter how you edit your photos, you can actually make any workflow with TourBox work for you. So for example, when I was setting this up for myself, I was like, how will I crop? So I texted my friend Sam because I saw he uses TourBox as well. And I asked him like, hey, what do you use for cropping? And what he said actually surprised me, because he set up a macro with pre-recorded mouse position and clicks and mapped this to the button. So he goes between different crop ratios and uses arrow keys to move the crop positions, which is completely different workflow from mine, but works for him because he edits differently than I do. So you can make this device 100% yours. And because of that, the way it's built, like it does go to the top spot on my recommendation list for editing consoles for wedding photographers. It's simply a beast. And then it has so much potential beyond that, because with all the other software that is supported, like I talk only about Lightroom, but there's so many more applications and software that is supported, and not even talking about iPad, which I don't have. I don't use iPad, so I cannot test it with iPad. But you can connect this to the iPad and work in Lightroom or like Final Cut or whatever tool you want. So the possibilities of this console are truly endless. Let me know if you have any questions about my workflow, and make sure to check out the link in the description to grab your TourBox.